The security teams are in their own silos. The teams that are building software, deploying software, building infrastructure are in their own silos. And so, how do we get those horizontal, it is a horizontal process problem. How do we get all those teams in their own, from their vertical silos to think about it as a horizontal process problem to actually solve it? That's what, it's all my business background plus my technical background, everything comes together to say,
This
we
needs
need
to
a
happen.
solution.
Why do you think that's not happening today? Like, why is it that there are silos when IOs and CSOs and technical community understands that having silos is the biggest problem, right? And there is a lot of politics that goes in companies as well. There is a lot of territory of their own. But knowing that this exists, why aren't leaders solving this? Knowing that those silos are actually the cause of creating more creating more issues in the companies, giving hackers an easier time because they know these gaps exist, right? Why do you think that exists? And then maybe we'll get into like how does InvGrid solve this, and then how are you going to go across those challenges, because humans are humans and we will still continue to have those silos because we want to defend our territory. And I've seen that firsthand, having been part of other companies where we are selling cybersecurity to multiple stakeholders. How do you get over that at InvGrid? But explain to me, like, why aren't people solving that today first?
Right. Let's think about any organization. And whenever you think about an organization, you have a sub-teams, and each team has their own goals. So if it's a tech company, a product company, you have a CTO. Their goals are ship the product, build the product, ship the product, right? And sales team will sell the product. And without these two things, without the product and the sales, you have nothing else.
That's right.
So the incentives for them is to ship the product, not necessarily to make it secure.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
So it's now, however, and then if you bring in a CISO or a security team to make sure security is implemented, but the security team is not building the product.
They have different KPIs. I mean, there are different goals. Yeah.
But even to make, but they are not necessarily building the products, building the infrastructure, and finally, it's about when it comes to technical aspects, it's code and product. Applications and infrastructure, and those two things, and misconfigurations in infrastructure, vulnerabilities in code. But the security teams are neither writing the code nor are they deploying that infrastructure. That is being done by the CTOs and the CIO teams, etc. And they have their own KPIs to meet and achieve.
That's right.
Let's ship this fast. Let's get to market, and rightfully so, right? If you don't bring in money, there's nothing to spend on.
Yeah.
If we don't have jobs,
Yes.
we don't have salaries, so we have to ship the product. So what? But however, in that whole process, they are trying to ship faster. You're trying to tell them, wait, let's think about the risk. Let's think about security risk. Immediately adds to the friction.
Yeah.
And then we are stopping and to think about how to, or rather, we are not stopping and thinking how to embed that security as a part of the process so it's frictionless for them. That requires a special kind of tool, a special kind of re-engineering effort of the processes that write the code, the processes that deploy the infrastructure, provision the infrastructure.
So security doesn't become a hurdle, it becomes part of the process. So the builders and the engineers are doing their stuff, but security is kind of layered in.